Welcome to Here for the Truth. My name is Joel Rafidi. I got my co-host Erasmus with me as always. Our platform is on a mission to inspire as many people as possible to live more authentically, to build true, authentic, healthy self-esteem, to reclaim their power, and to live lives that feel deeply reflective of who they really are as an individual. And it's been such a privilege to record these last 200 episodes and an honor to be on this journey and get to do this work and get to have these conversations. And today is no different. A very special episode in store for you guys. For the first time ever, both our wives are joining us for this conversation. It's deep and it's beautiful. We reflect on our journeys, on the authentic growth process, on the evolutionary power of relationships, the importance of self-knowledge, and just building our capacity for truth. And I think you guys are really, really, really going to enjoy this one. If you're into what we do and you want to be deeper into this world, we've launched a free community which you can join and connect with others and connect with us and, get exclusive content. And each month we're hosting a free global community call for everyone connected in our world, but purely through being a member of that free community. So you can head to school.com, skool.com/here for the truth. You'll be asked some basic membership questions. Then you'll be in there and we'd love to see you on our next call. So without anything else to be said right now, please enjoy this episode.
You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Gerasimos.
200 episodes, bro. Can you believe that we are here? What a ride, man.
That's crazy, man. All I can do is think back to episode 1 when we were a couple of young bucks about, 3.5 years ago.
Bro, I actually want to start by playing a little fucking snippet right here. Look at this. Hey, guys, I'm Joel. This is Gerasimos.
Wow.
Welcome to Here for the Truth. Basically, Here for the Truth is a podcast where we explore the truth on all matters. Our intention is to get to the bottom of what it means to live truthfully, to live authentically, and to use our own experiences to discern what truth is. Look at you, bro. Little Jersey gangster. Look at him. Yeah, man. Good to be here with you.
Yo, it's so good to be here, man. I'm so happy we connected.
That's wild.
I know.
You guys look
We have
so
better
young. It's crazy.
I know. We have better mics and better cameras, that's for sure. And we look slightly different.
Do you think we've gotten better looking or?
Oh, for sure. You guys
I
are
think
both
so. I think
way
like,
better looking.
ladies, what do you have to say?
Yeah, you both
Joel put on a little bit of
from
weight,
my
a little bit, but it
perspective,
looks it's good.
I think you have too. You have
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I feel like
Oh, I
you both
definitely
have grown into yourselves more.
Yeah,
like
more
you've,
mature
built
and-
out into your more manliness as you've been in this process of stepping more into who you are. You
That looks like Joel in the mirror every morning.
Well, thank you. This is the reason we invited you both on for episode 200.
I was wondering why, and here it is. So.
All right.
Each of
you list
You're supposed to tell them how amazing they
your
are
top
for
10
an hour and a
favorite
half,
thing
basically.
about each of us.
Should we let the people listening know who our guests are first?
Oh, yes. Sure.
Guys, with us today, we have Alyssa Rafidi, my wife, who first joined us way back on episode 2022, over a couple of years ago now. And we have Dr. Sophie Fletcher, PhD, who this is your third time on the podcast. You joined us on, I think, episode 5 or something, or 3 or something like that. And also episode 140. So we thought, we'd honor our 200th anniversary by having our wives on for this conversation.
To tell you how wonderful you are.
Yes, keep it coming, please. Keep it coming. How are you ladies doing?
Yeah.
Good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, you guys have a lot going on right now.
Yeah, we're...
Me and Erasmus, or me and Alyssa?
You and Alyssa.
I never know when someone says you guys, who they're referring to.
Yeah, well.
Look, in the ethos of Here for the Truth, we are tired as all hell right now, and speaking into the reality of what life is like in Mexico right now in Playa del Carmen in this house, it's been a very, very hard month. It's been extremely uncomfortable. It's so hot. Like, we got this crazy ant problem in the house. This bathroom, for some reason, just endlessly smells. There's nothing that we can do about it. I've got ripped sheets going on. And, we're our eldest daughter, Valley, we're training her at night. She's not wearing a nappy anymore. So, up all night, taking her to the bathroom and stuff like that. Naya's going through her own developmental stages. I can only speak for myself, but, right now, it's a lot for sure. It's a lot.
And you're packing up and,
Getting ready to move.
and have a new baby in a few months?
Yeah.
So,
It's
just
definitely a
regular
lot.
every day, whatever.
It's life. It's just life. We're going through the motions, but definitely excited for a change. And we know it's time for a change. So all of this is happening. We're super grateful for what's on the other side. I'm just nearly there. A few days.
Yeah.
Few days till we're out of here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's challenges and there's chaos, but at the same time, it feels so right. It feels like it's the only thing that could possibly happening, and we're very clear about where we're headed and the experiences that we're likely to have going forward. And there's a lot of excitement there as well. That's part and parcel of the journey, right?
What are you most excited about for your next destination?
The weather change, because it is just extremely hot here all the time. And I think just a bit more temperate weather and seasonal changes and cool mornings and cooler nights and evenings we can just enjoy outside. We can't really do much here unless we're swimming in the pool. So I think that's the biggest thing. But just to experience the magic of a new city, a new place, and so much beauty that surrounds the city, the particular city we're moving to. And I think that's what my life personally calls for at the moment, is just that magic and that beauty, and to keep exploring and have a new adventure. I know that's what my heart's calling me towards. And I know that's, where I'm going for a reason. So that's really what it is.
Like all things, it can be so overly romanticized, like leaving your home country, living abroad, digital nomad lifestyle, etc. And again, people see the highlights on Instagram and stuff like that. But the reality is that since February 2023, we never really felt like we've been in a home where we felt settled, grounded. We could make a place our own. We could, where the conditions were ripe for us to, fully breathe and fully be ourselves. And for me, I get the inkling that we're going to have that experience now where we're going, but it's a journey. Like there's steps along the path, especially with a young family. So for me, that's what it is, for sure.
Yeah, and each stage calls for a different. Sorry, Soph, but each stage calls for a different, experience. And we had the beach Caribbean lifestyle for so long, and it's easier with kids that can run around and we can swim and all of that. But this next stage, with a new baby on the way, it's calling me to nest more and to create a home and settle down a little bit. And that's, I think, where we're going next. And we've chosen a beautiful house where we're comfortable and it has all the comforts that we need, to have the baby at home, and then to just is like simple things like a backyard for our girls to run around on grass. It's just those simple things that we've been called back to. And so, we're just going with the flow of every stage of our life. And since we've left Australia, it's been a few years and we haven't needed that until now, but it's a real strong pull now to settle down and nest and be comfortable, for the next little while. So then we'll see where we go next. Who knows?
Pretty wild.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously I'm more peripheral in terms of getting a lot of information through Gerasimos and then, obviously our own relationships and stuff. But it's like, I've just been so, I admire you guys so much for, I feel like every step that comes forward, you're so clear about it. And then you get really, really clear about your intention around it. So it feels like every time we talk and there's another big change about to happen, like moving from Australia and then moving even from Mazatlan to Playa and then now moving again, and each of the different stages, it feels like you guys have just been really clear on like, okay, this is why this isn't working anymore. This is why we're moving forward in this way. And even if it's hard or, feels kind of like, what on earth is happening? I have to pack up everything and kids and like do the whole thing. It's like you guys are so clear in terms of like your values of why something's happening that helps you move through it. I don't know. That's just been I'm curious if that's also in your guys' experience, but just reflecting that back, that's been something that I've really admired about you guys, that even when you're doing these, big moves and big things happening, you're so grounded in the values. And I think that's something that everyone could take away of like, as you're grounded in these values and what your vision is and why you're doing X, Y, and Z, that can help you infinitely move through the difficulties of making those big decisions and big steps and big upheavals and things like that, because it's not just sort of like willy-nilly. It's not just because it's sort of like, oh, I just felt like it and we're just going to do this. But then you're kind of like in the midst of it going like, what on earth are we doing? It's like each time it's sort of like very value driven and sort of the groundwork of that. And I know that's also, a big piece of Joel and Yanasimos' work in Here for the Truth and Friends of the Truth and Wrath and all of the different programs. It's like really rooted and deeply grounded in the values that you guys both hold so strongly.
Thanks, Soph.
Yeah.
Good flip right there, bro.
That's it. Thank you. And I appreciate the acknowledgements, but it's becoming, like we mentioned, like often, like a big part of it is like getting clear on what is no longer working, what you don't want, what is no longer serving. And for us, I think it more and more get to a place where like there's, in a healthy way, there's less tolerance for if shit's not working, like it can change and it's okay. It's not the end of the world if it has to shift and if it has to change. And I think a big part of my design as well, with the strong Pluto placements and Scorpio placements and even together, Alyssa and I, just constantly feels like we're in the big evolutionary process. And yeah, it's really heavy and it can feel like a big upheaval at times, but always on the other side, it really does feel like we're growing and moving towards something more authentic, more beautiful, more integrated every step of the way, And yeah, I think the external experience we're having is really just, an outer manifestation of what's happening within our relationship as we continue to grow too.
Yeah, it's a testament also to, stepping outside your comfort zone. And what does that mean? Because how many people sit there and live in la la land and daydream land and, oh, I'm going to move there. I'm going to go there. And you guys are like in Australia, obviously things weren't ideal with a lot of the things happening in the last, 4 years. Having a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, or I forget the exact ages at that time. And then you're like, yeah, we're going to move across the entire country with like a bunch of suitcases and then figure it out. Go to a place
what happens.
never been before. I mean, the country, yes, but the place, no. And yeah, like Sophie said, it's like, what does that do to you as an individual? How does that challenge you? How do you build self-esteem? How do you build deeper connection? And how does these big changes cause a lot of shit to bubble up from the unconscious that you need to face? Because when you're just kind of living your life, in the place you're living, comfortable, like sometimes things can just remain stagnant. Now, I'm not saying everything has to always be turmoil, but like when you make a big change, you move somewhere new, like it's going to challenge you guys. It's going to challenge what it is like to be parents, having to raise kids in a new environment and navigate that. And that could only serve if you have a mindset of growth, not a fixed mindset, but a growth mindset that could only serve for you to grow as individuals, as a couple, and as a family.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with you. And I think that's a great point you made, and a great correlation is that when there is like external and circumstantial stagnancy, very often that can be a reflection of what's not being addressed within deeper dynamics, whether it's in relationships or with children or, in direct partnership or whatever it might be. And that's not always the case. Of course, you can go through deep growth processes and have a steady environment, absolutely. But I think for the herd or for the masses, as we often, refer to in a certain way, there's this level of complacency, which is reflective of the lack of inner growth that's taking place.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying that like you all have to move. Anyone listening to this has to move every 6 months just so you can experience
To a
growth.
completely new country too. You're not
Yeah.
just moving, like you have to move to a place where it speaks a different language and you know with a
Yeah.
different culture.
But it's just a highlight of like, where in your life can you challenge yourself? Where in your life are you not having a certain conversations that need to be had? A lot of the things that Joel and I talk about in this podcast. Like, what is that thing that's going to maybe stir the pot a little bit, make things uncomfortable, to force you to tap into different aspects of yourself, So,
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. I mean, as we're saying, you don't have to move across country or move to a completely different continent in order to have that happen. But where can you still find those challenges in your life? Like if you are, staying grounded in one place, where are the challenges, or where are you still stepping up, or where are you still looking for like how you can show up more consciously with more awareness through your life? Because I feel like Erasmus and I have been now in this house coming up on 4 years, and I don't think either of us understood what we were getting into to the extent, when we got this place coming from a condo with 0 outdoor space and being 2 basically city people with like not a lot of maintenance experience. And then being like, oh, okay, shit, like a tree falls. What do? We have to do that. We have to like figure these things out. Or, Erasmus is being like wheelbarrowing load after load after load of wood chips into making compost that he's never done before. And, I just think
and pipes bursting that you don't know about because the companies don't tell you that they're bursting, and then you just see your water bill that's $3,000 and you're like, okay, where's the leak? Oh, let me just go dig 10 feet underground and find a fucking pipe that's just disconnected and shooting water deep into the earth. Yay.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I was going to say. It's like, yeah, you've been in the same house for 4 years, and we've had the honor of visiting you guys the last couple of years. But there's a lot of changes that have taken place within that environment and within that dynamic. There's consistent challenges challenging your comfort zone. It's not like you just become complacent in what's there.
I mean, I think it probably would have gotten that way if we had stayed in where we lived previously to this. I feel like there was definitely that, like, okay, we've reached our like expansion within this place, within this structure. We're using every single inch of it that we can. And like, but I think we both needed, even though it's only 30 minutes away, it feels like we moved, to a completely different place or a different experience. And we keep joking that it's only like now that we're like, it's only been in the past few months that we've gotten stuff up on the walls, because it feels like it took us so long just to kind of like orient to like land here, even minorly. And especially like, I think focusing way more on like the outside and getting the land and getting like more in tune with that and getting that more sorted. Now it's sort of like, oh, okay, now we can kind of home a little bit. Now we can kind of like nest a little bit into like the actual structure.
Yeah.
Just the building and stuff. But yeah, it's been great having you guys here a couple of times.
Oh, we love it. We love visiting you guys, especially like being quite isolated at times, where we have been. A big part of the drive for us to move was to be closer to more aligned community. And obviously, you guys are tip of the iceberg for us when it comes to that. But I mean, being in Australia, would we ever have gone to Music and Sky like we did this year and have met the community that we met and have had the experiences that we had? And in the back of my mind, when I was leaving Australia, it's like there's something deeper within me where there's more opportunity for the larger scale picture of what I see for our life and our potential being on this side. And, having had the experiences and like, seriously, we did this podcast for nearly 2 years without having met in person. And like, I'm not going to lie that there's a part of me that's like, maybe we'll never meet, it's especially with the dynamics that were happening at the time.
Yeah, when that was going on, those first couple of years, like I'm like, I don't know if I'm going back to Australia because everyone knew what was going on in Australia, like 2020, 2021, 2022, like, trying to get in there. And yeah, I definitely had that thought often. I was like, I guess we're just going to be squares on the screen for each other for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, but I mean, even just the level of consistency, like I played a snippet from episode 1. Like even back then, thinking that with consistency, if we just keep doing these things, that we would have the opportunity to have these freaking incredible experiences, And it's like back then you don't have the foresight of what's possible. But, life gives you opportunities. Life sends you, relationships and synchronicities and knowing yourself on a deeper level, like coming into human design and other esoteric systems that allows you to know yourself and honor yourself. Like things bloom in the most profound and beautiful ways, which, can never be expected or anticipated from our limited perspective when we first start the adventure.
Yeah. I mean, also too, like going back to before, like where we lived, we had a very incubated life at that time, like Sophie was doing her PhD. I was really focused on, my inner work and seeing clients. And like, I didn't really have a big social network here in LA. It was very different for me because in New York City, that was my entire world, like different social networks and different types of communities. And coming out to LA, there was definitely like lots of different dark nights of the soul that I've spoken about. But for those like previous to us moving, those like 4 or 5 years, it was very intimate. And I kept feeling this calling in Sophie as well. Like, all right, I think the next stage is like expanding and building a greater community. And I wouldn't say it's the main reason we moved, but one of the reasons we moved to a place that had more space is that we wanted to, plant some roots, but also be a hub for community. It's something that I had always talked about. So we talked like we want to host gatherings. And of course, it happened at the perfect time. The world went kind of insane. Many of us were treated as second-class citizens in California and couldn't go out to eat, couldn't go out to do things because we decided to make a personal medical decision. And so, as I've mentioned before, we started hosting gatherings in 2021 and bringing people together. And again, even then, like when it was like May 2021, I couldn't have thought like 3 years later how things would be, and what community we've built, and then all the webs that have built just from the people that met in our place.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild, not to mention everything that's grown from what we've created. Like it just kind of blows my mind to think of because we decided to create a platform talking about, I think, things that are really important, and then being able to connect with other thought leaders and other people challenging like established norms around the world, and not just build like relationships like, oh, you're on our podcast, like friendships and deep, meaningful connections and mutual respect. And then like just seeing how that's growing and evolving. Like, again, another testament to, hey, being clear in what you value, speaking your truth, being consistent, creating, and just seeing what happens. Like I didn't, like you said, when we met, we sat down on that little clip. I had no idea the 4 of us would be sitting here right now, having gone through what we've gone through, the relationships that we've built. No way. It's like, I couldn't even think of it. It's like the whole truth is stranger than fiction saying. Like and it's better than I could have imagined. I think if you asked me then, oh, what's the ideal 4 years from now? I wouldn't have been able to create something or tell you something as beautiful and rich and fulfilling as what we're experiencing now.
I think that's a big piece of like, I mean, again, I'm going to say this and you guys can disagree or not or agree. But like, I feel like all 4 of us hold pushing ourselves, growth, keeping that as like the main value, right? If looking at things and being like, is this going to grow me? Is this not? Is this going to be something that stretches me within my capacity and keeps me going or not? Like, and that kind of as the compass. Like I remember a friend of mine, as we were graduating college and we kind of all, are in that place of like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Life and blah, blah, blah. And now we have to like figure things out on our own. And I remember this conversation and she just was like, I think the whole point is that as we're ready for things, like the next step comes forward. And then within us, it's just whether or not we have the courage to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all four of us take that next step, look at it, and like gather that courage, even if it hadn't been there a second before or 5 seconds before that. It's like we kind of all dig into that as our main value, which I think also really connects all of us.
Yeah.
And keeps it going, because it is that. And we even realized that of like the friendships and the community that was built and things like that. It's like when we get together, we're not just talking about like random, frivolous, whatever stuff. Like it's coming from a deep, grounded value system that we all hold. And so it's kind of like that's the groundwork for the friendship or the community or coming together in whatever way that we are with other individuals, rather than like one of our jokes is, when you're little, it's like, oh, you like the color purple too? We should be best friends forever. Like, and there's people who do like are best friends forever based on the fact that they both like purple when they were like 5. But I feel, at least for me, like I feel like the relationships that have been built, especially within the past 4 years, are like, they're just coming from a different place.
Yeah.
Because the values, the groundwork, the baseline is already there at a deep level, at a core place, rather than just sort of like, oh, we like the same music or we like the same food or like, let's do these other things. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. I think it's one, valuing the fact that you live, the fact that you exist, and what that really means, and valuing what's possible, more than valuing what is just known and familiar, even though, it's comfortable. It can sometimes be stagnant. I think that's a big part of it, it's just valuing potential. And I think, what I love about this process with what we've built and Here for the Truth, and just, this core Here for the Truth message, is that as we've grown this business or this creative venture and this podcast and this vessel, it's just been such a major catalyst for our own personal growth journeys as well. And like a big part of our work is like, teaching how to develop healthy self-esteem. And like the core of that is just trusting life, trusting what's possible, trusting that the best is yet to come. And like throughout this process, as this platform has grown and as we've taught this work, like our self-esteem has been reinforced as a result of us doing this and getting the feedback from the divine, from universe, from life, saying like, yeah, this is the way, because the opportunities keep opening up. It's not like we're running into dead ends or dead walls and there's signs saying, don't go this way anymore. And I think that's at the core of it. What we want others to experience more than anything else is just a life that feels amazing to you, a life well lived. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be no challenges or no bumps in the road or no hardships. But what the thing is that really makes life feel amazing is that deeper inner knowing that whatever's happening on a surface level, I realize that it's actually for the best. And I know that I'm growing in a certain direction that's going to lead me towards something else. And it's just like that can't end. Even when you think about, the finite human experience, that something deeper within me is like that. It can't end. Like we're always growing on a deeper level. And that's what excites me. I think that's going to go on beyond my 80 odd years on this earth as well.
Do you think you've always had that? Like, did you grow up with that?
I feel as though deep within me, I have always had a deeper aspect of me that just trusts life, trusts God, trusts the divine. And while at times I might not have always been as present, or I might not have been able to articulate it in a certain way, I think so for sure.
You, For me, definitely not. I mean, you guys know my story. Listen to whatever episode I talk about that. No, that's been more new for me, just within the past, 12, 13, no, like 15 years at this point. That was a big shift for me in my mid-20s of like, oh, I might, there's like, you could actually enjoy being alive.
Yeah.
That just was not part of my framework.
Pretty wild, though. I think someone meeting you now would not think that
No.
what you grappled with, like from age 4 till mid-20s, which is a testament to, again, what you talked about, like the desire to keep learning and growing and expanding and dealing with your shit.
And it's proof of what's possible, despite how dark some people's experiences might be at certain times in their life. Like in the depths of that darkness for you, would you have imagined that you'd have this level of trust for life at this point?
No, I mean, I literally, it wasn't, I mean, all I thought about was that I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm getting emotional.
It's okay.
But like the idea that I could actually enjoy this and be planning a future still even, up to mid-20s just felt like I'm just trying to figure out how to not be here without having to do it myself because of my beliefs around karma and all of that stuff, where I was like, okay, well, it's not an option for me to do it. And yet I wanted it so badly. So the idea of thinking about like, oh, I could actually look forward to what's going to happen or what's coming or what life could be just wasn't, it didn't occur to me. It didn't make sense when people talked about like looking forward to those kinds of things. But it's very different now. I mean, I'm really looking forward to what happens because I have experienced such just profound beauty and joy and pleasure and awe in the past, whatever, how many ever years, 15 ish years. So I feel like I have enough data now where I'm like, oh, life can actually be pretty freaking cool. I mean, if I was here, I wouldn't have gotten to meet you guys. That would have sucked. I really like knowing you guys.
I mean, the past 10 years were the best. Have been the best, of course.
Yes, of course. Ever since meeting Erasmus 10 years ago, that's when life shifted everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you're feeling into this, Alyssa. And I guess your personal experience around this topic too.
Well, I mean, I'm emotional watching Sophie because I suppose my story is very similar in my own, unique way. There are differences, but mine's more of like not being capable of all the things that made me just being wrong in the world. And so always, being blamed for this and that I'm not good enough and that I won't ever be capable of having that life. And I suppose when I started to love myself and do the individual work and really integrate all of the parts of myself that were disowned and not loved, and told were not lovable, that's when it started to really open up for me. And it's when I took charge of my own life and stopped listening to all of the people that were like, you can't do this. You're not worthy of this. You're not good enough. And like, I look at my life now and obviously moving overseas, these last few years have just propelled me, and accelerated the process. I feel it was all necessary. Every single part of it, all of the heartache, all of the grief, all of the pain, to know myself right now and to be where I am right now, I can never regret one single thing that has happened. All the people that I've known that told me that I couldn't, it was just about making decisions for myself where I took back my power and I realized that's not who I am. That's not actually who you've told me my whole life who I am is not who I am. And now I'm going to spend the time discovering who I am and making decisions that align for me and being bold and being brave and just like loving myself completely through it, pushing the boundaries. It's just like, I can't explain where I am now, where I've come from. And, I'm so proud of myself because I did it. I did it. I was my own hero. Throughout it all, I've always had my back. And that's what I found. And I love life. I'm so excited. I can't even imagine the potential that is waiting for me and my children, and to show my children that, and then to know myself in this way, and then be able to give my children the same opportunities just to be themselves and to know themselves from the beginning of their life is just like, I think, such a powerful and beautiful thing that a mother and a father can give their children. And I think on an individual level, that's why what Joel and I's values are, why we've been so strong throughout so much, is because we know what we want on an individual level. We're really, really clear, and then it makes us stronger together as our family unit. So that's what I feel. I am in love with life. I'm excited. I know what I'm capable of. And none of that could have been possible without the last 33 years. And then like just being propelled into this change and uplifting our whole lives. And it rattled every single thing, every single shadow, every single part of me that I thought I knew. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for these gifts. I'm so grateful for this universe and this path, and to know God and to know myself on this level now. It was so worth it. So worth it.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, baby.
Yeah,
One
present.
Yeah. One thing I want to highlight, and I guess as well, is like, I know that for you, discovering yourself as a manifester was a huge part of your journey, especially in moving out of, I guess, a more dominant people pleaser part and dynamic. I think you having that realization and really understanding what that means and owning that and stepping into that was a major catalyst for you. I think that's a testament to the power of human design. And also anyone that meets you and knows you now, like, feels your impact, right? Feels the initiatory huge energy which you have when you enter a room, when you enter a conversation, whatever it might be. So can you speak into like that for you, like in understanding yourself as a manifestor, and now that has kind of impacted your life?
Well, I think all of the things that make me a manifestor, and they're beautiful things, are things that I had been told to disown or to not, I'm too bold, I'm too this, don't use your voice, don't be different to me, and some people don't even know what the manifestor energy brings to them. They just know that they're triggered or that and so it shines a lot of light on people, and even if they're not ready, and so I don't think, knowing that as a child, you don't know that as a child. And unless you have parents who do understand you in that way, it's really, really difficult to discover who you are and to use your gifts to the best of your ability. And so I think that now, discovering human design and having friends that, understand human design, I can feel comfortable as I dismantle all the bullshit and really step into my power. I do have an impact. I'm here to do things a different way and to blaze a new trail. I'm here to discover and investigate and then show people the way. And when I've embraced that, that's when everything opened up for me. I've been able to be bold and brave and stand in my power without, unapologetically, just being myself. And it's a choice, it's been a choice to be able to say no to people, to be able to say no to things that don't feel right, to say goodbye to relationships that didn't really nurture and see me on that deep level. And so, yeah, it's just knowing I'm a manifestor and how I work in the world and how I can show up for other people and blaze a new trail has been just like incredible to me. And then how I relate to people is different, and become more accepting of myself in, my energy, how my intuition works, how I can discern my gut instinct from what's good for me and what's not. It's just, it's a powerful, powerful tool that I'm so grateful for. Human design.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. It immediately made me think of I think it's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, but like, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And this is where we have tools like human design or, whatever, cards, astrology, numerology, this is esoteric wisdom and knowledge and tools that we can use to kind of check against. It's not about creating anything like as dogma. You know what I mean? It's not about like, oh, I read a book, human design, this is my life. It's like, no, you're an individual. You have your own ability to think and feel, and you come across this information and this knowledge, and you rub up against it, and you go, wow, this resonates on a deep level. And like, I don't need to play the compare and contrast game. These things that my mom and my dad and my primary caretakers and my friends and my teachers that have been telling me, they don't land. They don't resonate with what my personal experience of being me is and looking at the world and taking things in. No, like, I'm going to own myself more. So yeah, sure, people can sit there and like make fun of a lot of this more esoteric stuff, but the proof is in the freaking pudding. Even just hearing you talk right now. And I can only speak for myself. When I first got my first astrology reading, it blew my mind. When I first got exposed to the cards, I was like, aha. I mean, it's aha moment after aha moment that just kind of builds this part of you that's like, fuck off. Like, I know who I am. Like, you can't mess with me. You can't throw me off my center. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Now, it's not about coming from this rebellious part and being a dickhead, but it's about truly, solidly standing in yourself on 2 feet and going, I've been given this gift of life. Okay, you're not me. I'm me. I know me. I know what I'm about. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm imagining. And then living from that place. Again, like you said before, unapologetically. Like, and if you can't handle me being me, again, to measure, like, we want to have respect and honor with one another. We don't just want to go around with the proverbial middle finger 24/7. But like, then like, no one can take that from you. People can troll you online. People can say things, but you're solid in who you are. And you're like, that's cool. I'm living my life. I'm following my bliss. I'm living with joy. I'm building healthy, conscious relationships. I'm creating a beautiful family. Whatever that is, you know it. So no one can mess with you. If you aren't sure of who you are, if you've been living based on other people's projections, like, you're just not standing on solid ground, and you're able to be pushed over that much more easily.
Yeah. Beautifully said, man. And another, quote which just ties this in, Jung, the world will ask you who you are. And if you don't know, the world will tell you. And I think this is just so true for so many people, is that we come into this world and so much is conditioned onto us and conditioned out of us. And for most of us, we just live in this wishy-washy state where we don't really know what's happening in our internal world or how we're really designed to operate on a deeper level. And so we just believe anyone that would say anything about us or to direct our life, and we just build up this program of outsourcing our decision making and outsourcing our life path over and over and over again, because there's just this internal wishy-washiness, like sand moving along the beach, and it's not solid. And for me, like, a key again is, well, life well lived, has to have a deep integration of knowing oneself within, and I think, again, know thyself is how Erasmus and I started this conversation 199 episodes ago. And it's just becoming more and more, powerful and relevant as it continues to go on. And it doesn't end. It's not like, oh, you come into this knowledge, you get a human design reading, you get an astrology reading, you get whatever. I know myself. No, like you mentioned, this is experiential. This is about taking this knowledge and then applying it in the real world and rubbing up against it and testing it and getting that feedback and then integrating it. And it goes on and on and on and on. And, like, self-esteem is something that's reciprocal. It's something that grows. And that's the same as your internal power is just your self-esteem. And as you get this feedback, as you see your life change in the most beautiful and profound ways, as you see your relationships become more enhanced, more authentic, you see greater opportunities come your way, your trust in life and God and the divine becomes even deeper. You see possibilities where there weren't possibilities before. You see dreams for yourself, which you never could have dreamed of, from a place of a lack of self-knowledge and a lack of healthy self-esteem. And it's like, damn, the mountain that seemed like Everest a second ago, seems more like a molehill at this point in time.
Well said.
Like the best is still yet to come. It's like, and I just know that deep within my bones. I just see and I know how much is coming, how much is possible. And it's like, there is no roof. There is no limit on it whatsoever. That's just what excites me. It doesn't matter what's happening right now. Having that within is just, that's the biggest gift to me. And it's in your hands. And everyone listening, it's in your hands. It's up to you. And each step of the way, it's uncomfortable. Breaking conditioning hurts. It's painful. Shifting ingrained relationship dynamics with partners, with family, with whatever, it's scary, right? The real change is never going to come in the place which you've always been. It requires discomfort. And the people who grow the most in this life and in this world are those who have built their tolerance for this quote unquote discomfort. And ultimately they get to a point where it's like it's embraced. Okay, here it comes. And you recognize that it goes hand in hand with this evolutionary process. And it's on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, it's not about wanting the external world to get easier. Like things aren't really going to get easier. It's just, how do you navigate them? How do you deal with challenges in life?
Yeah.
Like I could just think back personally for me, like moving to this new property and like issues happening. Like, oh my God, I'd get triggered in these ways that just like, I have to check myself, like, dude, why are you getting so triggered? Why is this so hard for you? It's like, well, I never had this experience before. Like, that's the thing. It's like when you put yourself in new experiences, then you get that feedback and you go, oh, well, I don't want to, this is not how I want to be. This is not what I want my inner life to be like. And so like, what do I need to do to deal with this? Now, a lot of times it'll maybe shift over time. The more you experience something, there's just an organic flow to it, but there has to be some level of introspection, where you realize how you're behaving, you realize how you're reacting, and you go, okay, this isn't sustainable in regards to the person that I want to be.
Yeah.
So,
but I think there is that, I suppose as you were saying, like how you're going to orient yourself to these challenges or these discomforts, because I think there's also that part of, like, for me, part of my stuff was like, I just got comfortable with discomfort, but in a complacency way, in like this is just like a resignation of like, this is just life. Life just sucks. It's painful. It's, not to say that I didn't have great experiences even, when I was depressed and stuff, but it's like, you just kind of get comfortable with like, I don't want to be here. Okay. I will say, like, I feel like I had like the drive to change it the whole time, but I just like couldn't, I just felt like I kept like going round and round in circles of like not quote unquote figuring it out, or like shifting it in any kind of like real meaningful bit. Like I would do these, retreats and workshops and like things and had like these experiences for like a week, but it wasn't sustainable because my system couldn't hold it yet. Like I didn't have the capacity for it. I didn't have the framework for it. I didn't have the grounding that was possible for like a life experience. And so it was just this, like, I felt like always being in discomfort, but it was like a complacency with the discomfort.
Do you think there's the difference between like the discomfort that, the evolutionary discomfort and perhaps the discomfort of, I don't want to say an inauthentic life, because I don't think that's what it might have been, but, the discomfort of a lack of self-knowledge or a lack of, moving forward, potentially?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a difference in the discomfort or difference in the orientation to the discomfort.
Yeah. It's the level of it's the consciousness.
The consciousness of like, how am I going to relate to this?
Yes.
Oh, this is something to work through and to actually like, quote unquote, overcome or to transmute in some way, to integrate in some way, versus like this is just life. And I'll go do these things to like have a different experience for this very short period of time that I'm allowed to have in this incubated experience. But I feel like it was more the like, how I was approaching it, like, this is just life. And I do these things just to make it through.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing these retreats, and I'm doing these workshops, and I'm constantly looking for the next like healer or the next, thing just to help me get through, like just to help me survive, versus like, oh, this is for me. This is for my growth, instead of the victim, right? I think I was just so much more in the victim rather than the like, oh, this is something I can utilize, this pain or this sadness or this grieving or this whatever darkness within me. Like, I can actually use this. I can actually feel this. I can actually go into this.
Yeah.
And that's how, it's the whole thing of like the cave,
you fear to enter.
Yeah. Fear to enter is our greatest gift.
Holds the treasure you seek. Yeah.
Right. Instead of me like, oh, there's the cave. Like, I feel it. It's so deep and it's so scary, but I'm just going to do all these things around it to try to like smooth it over or put like a boulder across so that I don't have to deal with it, rather than like, okay, I actually like have to go into this cave and it's going to suck. It's going to be really painful. It's going to be even more painful than me dancing around it. And yet on the other side is life. So like, you get to a point where you don't really have a choice in it, but it is that switch in orientation.
Yeah. I mean, the victim doesn't trust life, obviously.
Right.
And I think that's an important part. Another thing that I realized along the way is that we are infinitely supported and we are infinitely guided. And you're right, Sophie, like life wants us to know ourselves. We're here to know ourselves, and life wants to see itself through us and to know deep love. And, it is for us. The opportunities for growth are handed to us. We just have to take it by the hand and embrace it. But to know a deep love from the universe, from God, from the force that created us, that is all within us as well. And I think that to know and be deeply rooted in this support system of, infinite possibility is a super important lesson that has allowed me to continue walking forward and not to be so afraid. And that's available to all of us as well. The infinite, beautiful, unconditional love and support that is holding us.
Yeah.
I think that's been really profound for me. Not only the love I have shown myself, but the love I have felt from, I call it God.
Yeah. And I think remaining connected to that, even when it seems like everything is breaking apart, even when all the
trust and that faith in that.
Yeah. Even when the conditioning, the fear, the scarcity, what's going to happen tomorrow? How am I going to get through? How am I going to survive? But like, even for myself, each time I've had that experience and reached that threshold, like, I'm still here, right? We're still on this journey. We're still growing. And that's the thing. That's what it takes. It's like having to feel that, holy shit, everything is breaking apart. Holy shit. This is the end. And then realizing again and again and again that it never really is. And, I think if you're conscious and continue to choose to grow in consciousness, then it keeps going.
And that's where self-esteem is built also, is going through those things and coming out the other side. Like, you're going to reach the other side. Mm-hmm. You just have to be brave and move forward in courage. And that has built self-esteem in myself. It's like, well, nothing can touch me. That's how I feel. And it's not from like a really, like it's from a grounded place. I'm rooted in my support system and in myself and in trust for and faith for myself above all, that I am capable to handle life and I can move through this and I can hold this. And, you know, when you come out the other side, it's like this incredible pride that you can't get from anywhere else. You know, that's something you give yourself. And it's by doing hard things and being brave, being courageous. And that's been so important to me. It's like nothing can touch me. I've got this. And my trust is in myself solely. I'm not outsourcing that. I'm not outsourcing that power. It's me.
Yeah.
And I think that's like deep love, deep self-love. And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the story of Neo, the Matrix. Nothing can touch him, you know, but it's true. Discovering his own power, you know, recognizing who he really is, and legit, nothing can touch him.
Yeah. And this is where I think you talk about self-love. Obviously, Sophie, you know, your main area of work is in the nervous system. It's like, you know, we have to be able to feel discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be able to feel pain. We have to allow ourselves to go through this process. But like we say over and over again, our world is filled with things that want to keep us from going through this organic, natural process to some degree. Oh, a relationship just ended. I'm just going to smoke weed every single day. You know, I'm not allowing myself to feel the pain of that. You know, I lost my job or life isn't going super well. Now I get it. People have our crutches, you know, at certain points in our lives. And I'm not discounting that, like, there's a time and a place sometimes. And, you know, people in some situations are doing the best they can. And like the saying goes, the only way out is through. It's like it's imperative to feel discomfort, to cry, to be sad, to build capacity to sit with that. And again, the nervous system where it comes into place here, like, do people even understand like their bodies? You know, we're born into this world. We have this thing. I'm moving my hands around, you know, I touch myself. Like, do people understand how they even function? You know, are we taught this as kids? You know, in elementary school, in you know, junior high school, are we taught about the physiology of a nervous system? Obviously, we have our issues with school, but like everything we talk about on our podcast, on our platform, whether it's nervous system work, whether it's German new medicine, human beings have no fucking idea what this thing is that they're experiencing life in. Like, just think about that. Most human beings have no understanding of this vessel that they live in and experience life in.
Yeah. And if we agree that pain is the primary catalyst for change, and most people on this planet can't properly experience the pain that's going on, then this is why we don't see people really change. This is why we don't really see real growth, you know? And like, we talk about all the conspiracies and, you know, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Is like, are you feeling reality for real?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vast majority of people, I think one of the main things that society is dealing with is dissociation and that freeze response within our nervous system where it's just numbed out. It's just not really here. It's not really experiencing these things. And so you're not getting the signals. You're not getting the natural signal from your system of like to change, to do something different, to experience something. It's just like, it's nothing. There's just a numbness there. And
how can you know truth? How can you know truth if you can't feel what's happening inside?
Well, don't worry about it. All you have to do is know and believe that you're limitless and eternal, and everything goes away, and you don't need to deal with any of this stuff.
See, if I had continued to believe that, I would still be in exactly the same place I was from 3 years old to my mid-20s.
Yeah,
because that was my teaching. That was the mindset that all the work that I was doing was. I just have to believe it differently, and then it spirals into like, so something's so fundamentally wrong with me that I can't even do this thing that's supposed to be the easiest thing in the world. Is just believe it, just know it. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't just change my mindset and everything's fine. It's like, because my body was in so much fucking pain.
Mhm.
Like I was so dissociated. I was so numbed out that I couldn't tap into that at all. Like the mindset work was just more dissociation. It was just creating more distance between those signals that I should have been getting, or changes that I should have been making, because they just weren't registering within my consciousness of like, I needed to get into my body. I needed to feel this stuff. I needed to actually experience this stuff, rather than just continue to change my mindset, just make more affirmations, just say more things to myself. Like, what is the problem? Like, I could say affirmations for hours upon hours. And
Be positive. Like everything.
Just be positive.
Just be positive.
You want to kill yourself? Just be positive about it. What's wrong with you? Like, oh my God. Like, it was just like, you just like get into this like spiral, and it just like, it makes it worse and worse, or it did for me, made it worse and worse and worse. But I think there's this like flip side that I've been trying to sort of focus on now too, especially in my work with clients, and even in RAFT, and even in, the Friends of the Truth nervous system calls, is like, we talk a lot in nervous system work around this like window of tolerance and capacity to be with discomfort, or be, with the more painful aspects and things like that. And at the same time, what I'm shifting into more and trying to emphasize more is like, we also have a capacity and a window of tolerance for positive. And like, my window of tolerance for positive it was like not even a millimeter. Like, it just didn't exist. So like, any positive experience was like too overwhelming. It was too stimulating. I didn't know how to hold it. I didn't know how to ground it. I didn't know how to integrate it into my sense of myself or world understanding yet. And so I think a lot of this work needs to be, and I know somatic experiencing does actually put emphasis on this in a lot of ways, but it's like landing in a new way for me of like, that's so much of the work. That's so much of the work of like, can you even feel a modicum of what are the somatic sensations for you that signal safety, or signal trust, or signal pleasure, or signal something like anything positive? And like, can you stay with that for a second, for 2 seconds, for 3 seconds, for 4 seconds? Like, what is that like to just sit with that, and what comes up to kind of like clamp it down? Because so many of us, I think, do get really oriented to danger, to threat, to what do I need to do to stay safe? What do I need to do? Let me like focus on the drama, focus on what's wrong, focus on what I have to fix. And there's parts that we have to do that. We have to do that to certain extents, but it needs to be counterbalanced with this also expanding that capacity and expanding that window of tolerance within our system to be with pleasant things too, and to start orienting to like, that can also be safe. That can also be a way to exist in the world. It doesn't have to be just in reaction to like, okay, everyone around me is okay, so that I can like feel this for 2 seconds, but I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, or I'm waiting for the shift.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I just think totally.
That's another part.
Yeah. We go much deeper into this, obviously, in our 10-week group coaching program, Rise Above the Herd, but also like the primary indicator of self-esteem is my primary motivation for life to avoid experiencing pain, or is it for the potential to experience joy? And I think for so many people in their lives, like when the joy comes in, it's immediately like, oh my, but this is going to end. So unconsciously we sabotage that experience, before we even get the chance to properly enjoy it, because on a deeper level, we don't feel worthy of holding joy, of experiencing joy.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us as maybe little kids or whatever were having a joyful experience or an exuberant experience and got yelled at or got reprimanded or whatever because, you're in class and you're supposed to be sitting down quietly and not moving, or, even such a mundane thing as like the parent is on the phone and they just need you to be quiet, and you're in the midst of like hysterical laughter, but then you like get that feedback of like, you need to be quiet, or that's not acceptable, or that's dangerous because you're going to be reprimanded, or you're going to, something's going to happen negative in repercussion of that. And so it's just understanding, like, we're just rewriting, right, so much of that within our systems as much as possible over time. Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of, in our experience, Joel, parenting is like rewriting what we knew for ourselves, and then being able to hold space for ourselves, and then being able to hold space for our children, why they experience this discomfort, why they cry, why they scream, why they discover their own emotions and how their body works and how the sensations feel in themselves. And, hopefully we're starting this knowledge from a young age so that they're not so repressed, or they've got all of this stuff stored and stagnant, and they don't know what to do with all of that energy. And so, hopefully they'll be healthier human beings, and but it's rewriting all the things. That's what reparenting is. And, conscious parenting and being aware and allowing not only joy, like we were told so often when we're younger, that you have to just be happy. Oh, be positive, be happy. You can't show emotion. Don't be sad about this. Don't express this. And it's like all of it is welcome. All of it is necessary. It's all part of the human experience. And when we wait.
Oh,
wait, I have a loved one.
That's all right. That's cool.
Yours is pretty. Pretty.
But yeah, you get where I'm going with it.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt that they're going to be healthier. There's zero doubt within me that the experience that they're having as children is an incredible step up from the experience that we had, through our understanding and through our own self-work. Like, I just have zero doubt there's going to be a lot less stuff. While there will be stuff to work through, there's going to be a lot less.
And it's there is going to be stuff, and we're not here to be perfect either, and to put pressure on ourselves, and to they're going to have stuff, but to have parents that take a bit of accountability, parents that maybe can nudge them in certain directions or introduce them to outside knowledge, and and let them find their own way, and to know that they're infinitely supported by us and loved by us for who they are. That's the groundwork for their journey.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect. You're not trying to take away all of their pain, because that's where the growth happens. And you want them to grow and expand. And you expect them to do better than we are. We're not the be all and end all, and we've made great progress and good headway. But, our children are going to be great in their own way, and discover their own things, and discover who they are. And just to allow that freedom is, incredible.
It's so cool watching you guys parent too. I mean, I've only been around you in person, 3 times now? But so I say that like I get it, the day in, day out. But I also feel like, you've stayed with us for weeks at a chunk. So I also feel like you get like more of a sense, from the breadth of just like, afternoon hang or whatever. It's like you're like actually like cohabitating for long periods. And it's like, I just want to reflect back that it's been like so beautiful and so healing and inspiring to just watch how you guys parent and watch how you guys relate with your girls and new baby coming and the whole process and everything. So I just want to relate that then.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you.
And to have our children around, I say this to Joel often, it's like the people that we have met through this process is incredible. But for our children to be around, this caliber of people, these people that know themselves and have so like vast knowledge and beauty within themselves, our children are around you guys, and we can tell they adore you. And just like they're so excited every time they want to see you and talk to you. And that's a testament to the people that you guys are. And I couldn't imagine, you know, not being your friends.
And that's the thing for me.
Family. We're family.
Yeah, we're family.
That's the thing for me. For them to witness and have receive the impression of authentic friendship, you know, and to have that foundation for what that means, like going forward. Like they're not going to grow up and like just welcome willy-nilly like any bullshit friendship into their life. They're going to know they have the resonance of what it feels like to be amongst friends, truly, you know, which is powerful for me to know.
That's what it comes down to. It's like, what are they witnessing? You can use all the words you want, and you can say
Exactly.
everything you want to your kids, but how are you behaving? What model are you showing for them? Because they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
And back to what you were saying before, it's like, you know, Sophie and I aren't parents yet, perhaps. And, you know, safety it just comes to, like, not like you said, it's not gonna be perfect, but like, can you create a level of safety for your child? And then how does that then impact them? Because I think of the people that I've come across in my life, and I think about clients that I've had, you know, I'm definitely personally, I'm blessed that I had parents that loved me and provided a certain level of safety. And I had my own issues and shit that I need to work with, and of course continue to work with. But like, to be someone who is in their teens or in their 20s or in their 30s and is consistently drawn to dysfunctional relationships and dysregulation because that is what's comfortable.
Yeah.
And then someone comes into their life who's like more regulated, and they need to self-sabotage and they need to end the partnership because it's not comfortable. Like that kind of stuff that I've witnessed personally, conversations I've had with again, clients and friends, that breaks my heart. Because it's like, man, like, how do you, like Sophie said, orient more to joy or to regulation? And then so when these blessings and these people come into your life, you know, especially in the form of primary partnerships, you're not just like running away.
Yeah.
No, but again, that's part of a person's journey too, of them having to like learn that. And hopefully later on in life, you know, they recognize it and they go, oh, okay, I see what's happening. And then they do the work necessary to get more present, to build more capacity, to learn about the physiology of their nervous system, to have more self-love, to have more self-esteem. So then they meet someone that's on a certain level, and it's like, oh, wow, we can build something, you know?
Yeah.
And again, sometimes that process happens through a relationship, of course, if you stay with it. But more often than not, you know, people are just, they can't handle the what comes up when you're around, let's say, regulation and health.
Yeah, that's a really, really powerful point, man, because it's like what we're building is not just the capacity for like joy, but the capacity to recognize synchronicity and to recognize God in that sense and to recognize the divinity. Like, okay, sure, the universe gives us signs and signals and things like that, but are we seeing them? And for how many people are they just like constantly being passed by because of that lack of internal safety and regulation? Like this is the work that actually attunes you to the greater order as well.
Well, yeah, and also even just let's talk about human design, for instance. Oh, wow, I got a reading. Oh, I realized I'm a splenic authority or a sacral authority. Okay, I just need to honor my gut, or I just need to honor that instinct. Well, if you're completely dysregulated and you're completely traumatized, like you're going to be confusing like your splenic response or your sacral response, you know, because it's a trauma response.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, again, it's like, great, we have these frameworks of self-understanding and knowledge, but it just doesn't end at the conceptual level. It ends, or I would say it grows from continuing to do the somatic work and the deeper knowing of like, wow, okay, like these decisions I made, maybe they weren't coming from the right place. Maybe I need to rethink things, or maybe I need to continue my work. And again, I do like to say it often, the proof is in the pudding. Like at some point, you know, you're making these choices, you're making these decisions, you're doing these things. Like, what are you getting back?
Yeah.
You know, sure, there's going to be choices you make that are challenging and then lead you to the next evolution of growth. But if you're continually repeating patterns after patterns after patterns, you know, triggered in the same exact ways within family, within partnership, I think that's a good sign. Like, okay, I need to do something about it. And then we come back to self-responsibility. the
I was just
umbrella
gonna
of
say.
life of, okay, I could blame everyone in my life. I could blame my mom. I could blame my dad. Sure. Doesn't mean we just blindly forgive everyone for the wrongs they've done. But what are you doing about it? What
Yeah.
changes are you making in your life? Where are you taking responsibility for the role that you play in any dynamic? Because ultimately you have more control over that than the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's also where, like, I'm a big advocate for getting into relationship. So, because I feel like it is such a catalyst for growth, as long as you look at it that way and you take it as that,
The greatest
opportunity. Because it's so, at least for me, it's like it's easier to be calm, collected and fine and whatever if I'm just on my own. But once you're in that dynamic with another person, you're getting those extra rubs, you're getting that extra feedback, you're getting that extra sort of like relational dynamic that will bring up relational discomforts or issues or
Yeah. There's more data points for awareness in relationship. You can have more awareness of self through the dynamic with the other,
That's what I hear that a lot from people of like, oh, I just need to be like, fully healed, or I need to, do this before I can get a relationship. And yes, and there's going to be things that come up once you get in a relationship, regardless of how much you've done, because it's still two individuals with histories, with pasts, with different ways of being and experiencing life coming together into a new way to combine it. But like there's no like, oh, I'm just done and I'm ready to be in relationship as like this whole, perfect person that's just gonna glide through sunshine and rainbows. It's like, Erasmus and I, we've known each other for 10 years now, and there's hardships. There's still things that are like difficult or rubbing or like, what was it just the other day?
Wait, what?
Like you were eating something that was like so loud, and like I
hate it. I hate it when he does that.
10 years. Like, are we like? Am I still gonna be upset about this, or is it just gonna be like, all right, whatever? Like, get over it. Like, is it worth like a fight after 10 years?
Choose your battles.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still like, I still get that impulse. Right? It's like recognizing that impulse or recognizing something that's coming up and then making conscious choice around it, then making whatever. But like, if I'm not in relationship, if I'm not having to deal with someone else's
stuff.
Yeah. Being like, I don't know. It's just like a
totally.
Where's the mirror? You need the mirror.
There's a level of unhealthy selfishness in just remaining alone, and there's probably even the tendency to, it's to be avoiding quote unquote challenge or trauma or discomfort by just thinking, oh, I need to keep doing the work by myself. Like I'm not ready and no one else is ready for me either. So just endlessly.
Well, also just even like anyone that has been in partnership and has been burned. I mean, I have to risk opening my heart up to someone and risk it being fucking stabbed again, in some cases. And so that's a big challenge in life. It's even just like people who own dogs, like, oh, I'm going to own this dog. I'm going to fall in love with this animal. It's not going to last very long. And I'm going to have to deal with that pain. Do I want to go through that pain again? And so but that's part of life. That's part of opening yourself up more. And, it's one of my favorite Rumi quotes, you got to keep breaking your heart so it could open. And so can you recognize where are you shutting off, or where are you allowing yourself to go, you know what? I'm a human being. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to get back in the arena again. And I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep growing. And I'm going to get into this partnership. And hopefully I'm going to, learn from it and then keep going. Or, this is my person. I've met someone that, can meet me and is willing to go the distance and is willing to do this kind of work, but you don't know unless you step in the ring.
Yeah. And, man, it's not only risking getting your heart broken and stabbed or whatever it might be. It's also risking actually being loved in return.
Yeah, of course.
I was gonna say,
That's a
I mean,
whole
I
nother
feel
element.
like Erasmus really expanded my capacity in that because he was brought up with and just has a much more stable attachment. And even like, going back to a previous conversation in this podcast of like, I think you and Erasmus have more of that, like you grew up with that orientation to like trusting life and trusting God and trusting the universe and like having that. And so even part of being in partnership was him mirroring that to me and shifting my ability to see it, ability to actually feel it or be with it, because I was with somebody who had that, who already has that orientation. And so it was like, okay, like, you're met with that every single day. It's like harder to question it. It's harder to like rail against it.
I love the story that Erasmus often shares about, how you tried to break up with him and he was falling asleep or something like that. And he was like, no, why don't you just sleep on it?
Well, human design, Kate. Human design
Yeah.
into that for sure.
Human design, we're emotional authority, Sophie. Let's sleep on it.
Yeah,
As I'm breaking up with him.
This is year one.
Breaking up with him.
Year one in our relationship, she tried breaking up with me 3 times because I was like, I'm never getting married, and I still was being kind of operating with the Peter Pan archetype a bit, the puer archetype. Like, nah, I'm not getting married. I'm doing my thing. Oh, we're having a good time. And she's like, no, I want to experience marriage. And then she tried breaking up with me multiple times, and the last time was intense. But as 2 emotionals, like, what are we making a decision right now? Like, come on, let's go to bed. And then she woke up. I think I wouldn't end that. Here we are 10 years later.
But I think there's also that part, like, because that growth or that personal growth, personal awareness is like the foundational, strongest value. I feel like for both of us, it's like we continue to take these things, and even in relational dynamics that come up, it's like, okay, how can I step up more in this? Okay, how can I learn more from this? Okay, how can I gain more awareness from this? How can I grow and develop from these experiences rather than just like, screw you, I'm out. I don't need this, And again, there's parts that probably come in for both of us, for moments where it's like wanting that or like peace out, or, for him, it's like, peace out. I'm just going to go live on a hut on a beach with an internet connection and like, screw all of this.
Yeah.
But it's like also having that like higher awareness, right? Having that higher mindset or, self that comes in and is like, okay, great mind adventure. That was super fun. Nice to experience for like 5 minutes, but also like, let's get real. Let's get real. Like, it's been 10 years. We fucking love each other. We're in this. Like, what's next?
Well,
like, how do we move forward?
Yeah. But this is like before I said, okay, we have to have an understanding and education on like the physiology of our body, et cetera. But it's also like many people don't understand the architecture of the psyche, and like, what is going on within you? What is happening? Like, do people understand the multiplicity of the psyche? Like, just because you have a thought or like you go on a mind adventure, like, it's okay. Like, this is just an aspect of you. Is there that conductor within that is guiding these internal processes and building greater and greater and greater awareness? In IFS, they call it the true self. In voice dialogue, a system that I was trained in, it's building a greater aware ego that can hold space for all these different parts of you, and so like that's helped me, combined with knowing about being an emotional authority, because like if your wave is triggered, these clusters of parts that are my specific patterns that come up, they're just like, F this shit, I'm out, I don't need this, I don't need to deal with pain and discomfort and like being in partnership with one person. I'm gonna go travel around the world and do what I want. But again, it's like, let me let that wave settle. And then you're like, oh, okay, no, this is a beautiful thing that I'm a part of. And I get to learn from this and grow and expand. And I love my partners and I love being in partnership. But again, if we don't know this stuff, like we make decisions from emotional reactions or from certain parts of us that peek through from the subconscious and like can cause a lot of pain and
wreak havoc. Oh yeah.
It can wreak havoc.
Yeah.
So, again, this just falls under the umbrella of self-knowledge.
Yeah.
100%, man.
And
like,
having those mirrors outside, because I feel like watching you and Alyssa, you know, I think all of us know all relationships have hardships and things that we go through and challenges and all of that. But like watching you two navigate stuff, like being in it, navigating stuff with Yerasimos at times, watching Joel and Yerasimos navigate and go through things, and then just like watching what you guys have created, watching what you guys have done step by step, just following those impulses, following those leads within yourself, those nudges, like that's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to be around that, or to watch that, or to be in the midst of those kinds of energies, because it is that like inherent, like it calls that up. It rubs against those pieces that don't want to, or want to argue with it, or want to like, no, like I'm just gonna go back into down here and everybody just like leave me alone or whatever. It's like, yeah, I just think it's been such a blessing, and it's so inspiring to be around all of you.
Me too, for sure. And like, one of the big things that I've been learning along the way is like what love really is, you know? And I think like in the beginning, like, you know, we over romanticize what love is, whether it's in a relationship or whatever else. But it's like when you're with someone consistently and you keep moving through the challenges, you keep moving through the hardship, like love is built. You know, love is knowing someone so deeply and like genuinely wanting the best for that person's soul and that spirit. And it grows, you know, it's something that grows as you know a person, as you continue to see both the shit and the gold and go through it. And it's like, as the relationship continues to grow, whether it's me and Alyssa, or, you know, me and Erasmus and what we have, etc., like the last thing that I want to do is risk tearing that down, because that's a value that I've accumulated over time. And it's this feeling which I get to have in relationship, which I wouldn't trade for like anything else, you know? And being able to have, like, keep going through the hardships and the challenges and the joy and all of it, and get to a point where something is really, really growing and you feel that the immensity of that love, and you know there's still more to be built. It's like, I'm in that. I'm in this. This is part of me now, you know?
Yeah.
No, it's not a random circumstance or a random fight or a thing that's going to tear this down. It's not happening.
Yeah. You've built something, you know, there's something long lasting. We've invested time and energy, and anytime a conversation goes and talks about love, I can't help but want to tap into my lineage and talk about, you know, the 6 words for love, you know, that Greeks have, you know, because, you know, love, it's like, okay, we say the word love, but there's so many different,
it's not one dimensional,
so many aspects of it, you know? And so like, I just want to highlight for people that haven't heard this before, because it's something that I think you can contemplate on in terms of your life and your relationships, etc. But the Greeks have the word eros, which I think most people are familiar with, like from, you know, the word erotic, but it's romantic and passionate love. Philia, you know, is deep friendship, you know, affectionate love. Ludus is playful, flirtatious love. And then we got agape. I think that's something that I think people might be familiar more, and that's like a more unconditional, selfless love. Pragma is the thing I think that when I see people that have been in long relationships together, you know, have gone through the muck, kind of worked through things, and that's long lasting, practical love, you know, something that, you know, you're not going to experience in the honeymoon period. You know, it's something that gets built over time.
It's
like
depth.
I see my mom and my dad when he was alive, you know, almost 50 years together, you know, that kind of stuff. And that was actually the thing that got me to finally commit to my wife, because I was a commitment phobe, and I was scared of committing to one person and getting married. But I went back home to New Jersey, like this is several years ago. My mom, I think, had a surgery. I can't remember what it was. And I saw like my dad taking care of my mom, or they were taking care of each other. And it was like so beautiful to witness. Here they are, these like little old Greek people, like loving up on each other and then like helping each other when, like, you know, they weren't at their best. And I was like, I had a moment there where I was like, I want that.
Mm.
You know, I want to like have a partner that I can like grow old with and work through stuff and like I don't know, be silly and be old together. And you know, and it's just something that like that hit me in a whole different way, you know, on top of also going into New York City and seeing old friends that were just doing the same thing and like talking about like just like wanting to just hook up with girls all the time. And I was like, no, that's not, I don't want that life, you know. I want something deeper, you know. So again, pragma makes me think of that. And then we got philotia, which is self-love, love of self, which is so much of what we're talking about, which I think is the foundation for a lot of this. So yeah, love. You know, what does it mean to you?
Like a lot of, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who talk about this and a lot of teachers who utilize this, but like love being more of a verb. Like it's an action. It is the continually showing up. It is the continually taking actions of, even in that last one, of like loving yourself, loving your person, building that pragma, building the arrows, building like you're putting like, Joel, as you were saying, like you're putting time, you're putting energy, you're putting value into this thing and growing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a bank account, like you put money into it and it's going to grow. And I feel like it is that with love, it's like you have to keep putting it in. You have to keep going with it. You have to keep investing into it, just like we're talking about with self-esteem, just like we're talking about with all these other things. But it like comes even from that value system of growth and greater self-awareness and learning of like, we're going to keep investing. We're going to keep putting ourselves in there. We're going to keep putting more energy and time because it's of value.
Yeah. It's something that, you know, transcends the self in that sense, you know. And one of my favorite books, probably my top 3 in terms of impactful, The Road Less Traveled, you know, M. Scott Peck, like for him, it's like real love is like when it's hard, when within you don't feel like being loving. It's in those moments choosing to love and choosing to extend love. Like that's when real love is being fostered.
It was so cool when you were reading that because Erasmus was asking me about it because I read it in my junior year of college as like an independent study on, I can't even remember what the independent study was on, but I had built this independent study and one of the books was The Road Less Traveled and then his other People of the Lie. But it was interesting like pulling the book out and like what I was underlining when I was a junior in college and like my little notes in the like thing. And it's just fun to like also have like those moments of like tangible, like that growth, like, oh, wow, that's where my mindset was at, or that was what seemed important to me at that time, or that was what hit versus like maybe now, maybe it would be like the sentence after that, or like, you know, a different chapter would hit differently. And like, I just love that about learning, that you can learn something in waves, or you can learn something because we're constantly shifting, because we're constantly going to orient to it differently of like, you can read the same thing over and over, or learn the same thing over and over, and it's going to shift in a different way. It's going to hit a different thing. It's going to, alter other stuff. But I love that you brought it up because that was one of my favorite books that I completely forgot about. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely very, very powerful and grounding read, you know, especially for anyone new to psychological work. And it's true, you know, it's like, we resonate with things at different times in our lives. It reminds me of that Heraclitus quote, no man steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river and he is not the same man. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for our...
Wait, did you just call them guys? Did you just call them guys?
Guys.
Oh my goodness.
I was going to say for our 200th anniversary as well.
Yeah. It's the 200th anniversary.
I just want to say though, with that last quote that you just said, like, it's cool that you started with that opening clip, because to like see You guys are not the same guys, and you are not stepping in the same river. So like you were episode 1. Like it's really cool. Like you guys have this like very tangible, like you have visual and auditory and thought, like everything that's progressed through you guys in 200 episodes of this podcast. Like that's fucking cool. That is a really cool legacy to have.
It is cool. It's like, having a documentary filmmaker follow you around every week, But literally, we have video footage of ourselves every week for the past, 3 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, it is wild, And again, like even when we do some throwback reels and I see like the clips, I'm like, whoa, like that's 2 years ago. Like what was going on 2 years ago? Where were we? How we look, how we're presenting ourselves. Yeah, I'm proud. I'm proud of what we've created, and I'm proud that we answered the call, and I'm proud that that you are our partners, and I'm grateful, so grateful. I've said this often, but like you've changed my life, Sophie, in so many ways. And I think the key to any partnership is like, how do you rub off on one another, and how do you inspire one another, and how do you grow from one another? Because it's like your partner carries certain things that are their gifts, and then the other person carries something, and it's like, well, how can I take some homeopathic doses of what you got that's going to support me to move forward, and vice versa, because again, part of partnership is, you mentioned that mirror, Alyssa, is that like, they're highlighting very often things that maybe we've forgotten about ourselves, or we don't have access within ourselves. And so we don't create wholeness by just unconsciously hooking up with another person, like in a codependent way. We create wholeness, and relationship helps provide that, because they're mirroring back and they're highlighting areas that we need to develop and reintegrate back into ourselves. So even this whole thing of, oh, that's my better half. It's like, no, ideally we want two wholes coming together and growing together as best as they can, as opposed to, nah, forget it. You got what I don't have, and I have what you don't have, and we don't need to continue doing anything else. Now, that may work in some cases, but generally speaking, how can we continue to grow? How can we continue to evolve? And how can we use our triggers, especially in partnership, to highlight, what's hiding in the shadows very often?
Yeah, and you guys get it from two really intimate, deep angles, You both get it from your wives, and then you both get it with each other. And so I just want to reflect, like, you guys are fucking badasses for being able to hold us, like deep partnership, romantic relationship, especially you guys with kids too. And then each with each other, like you guys together. I mean, it's pretty fucking cool that you guys have each other.
I still can't believe that we met. Like, I mean, it's just kind of wild, like you're such a brother to me, and like how much I admire you for how you show up and what you provide to what we've created. Like it's kind of crazy, that you were on the other side of the world.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro. I love you too. And, I've often mentioned, you've probably had the greatest influence on my personal growth journey, just like in getting to have conversations with you and to, get the wisdom imparted very often in indirect ways, just, through your being and through you being who you are. I just think about like all the things that had to take, all the decisions that had to be made for us to connect. For me to watch that Unslaved podcast and then to send you a message and to, there's so many different factors and variables that one thing, if it shifted, might have led to a different results. And how can you not just be in total awe and gratitude for the greater order, when you're able to hold that perspective. So, and to be honest, this is enough for me. Yeah, this is enough. I don't need another, third person or friendship or whatever it might be to like, this is more than enough. And I'm very, very, very pleased with the evolutionary growth impulses that I have in these primary relationships. But yeah, man, I'm proud of everything that we built and created. And I know the best is still yet to come. I keep saying it, man. I feel like we're just getting started, but I still feel like we're just getting started, for real. To everyone listening, like none of this obviously wouldn't be possible without the fact that you listen to these conversations and you resonate with these conversations and there's parts of you that feel like, this is something which is beneficial to you in your life as well. Alyssa can't express in enough words how grateful I am for, the catalysts for growth that's been provided in our relationship. I, in many ways, am the man I am today because of our relationship. And I am the man that I will be in the future because of our relationship as well. Sophie, I love you too. I just love who you are. I love being in your presence. I love having little chats to you when I'm in your house, and I really, really appreciate the friendship that we continue to build as well.
I can't wait to visit you all and meet your new little one that's coming. We can all hang out together. So we'll see when that happens. But yeah, just grateful to be able to spend this time with you all, and let's keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Anyone else have any closing statements or?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm personally feeling grateful and my heart is full just from this conversation. And I know that this is what you guys provide for so many people. I personally witnessed the shifts and the incredible work that you guys do. It's profound. I appreciate you. I acknowledge you for sharing your gifts with the world because it's so needed. And you're both, and Sophie in her work as part of Here for the Truth, but you're all really, a valuable part of my life and a valuable part of this world. And I know so many other people are grateful and inspired by you every single day. So thanks for holding the space for us all and showing up in all of your beauty and the people you were meant to be here.
Thank you for that.
I've never tried so much on a podcast.
I know. That's why I'm like...
We got 259.6 channels over here. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
And aren't we all emotional? So
yeah. Add 4 emotionals.
I can wait.
Well, here's to episode 200. Cheers to y'all. And I can only imagine what episode 400 is going to be like.
Me familiar. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. The journey continues. Peace out. Thanks so much for listening, guys. That was so much fun. Awesome to be able to have our wives on here and get to reflect and get to wrap on these topics as well. They got so much knowledge through this process as well, and just through their own personal journeys, as you guys have obviously witnessed now. Just in closing, I want to highlight for those interested in connecting on a deeper level, please, we highly recommend you join our free school community at schoolskool.com/here for the truth. Become a member there. We're doing one free global community call per month, and there's some cool exclusive content there as well. So if you're down to connect with others in our little universe and also connect with us, then check out school. All right, y'all. See you next time.
Smoking mirrors, I'm seeing through the illusion. Waking up in a time, they think you're in a delusion. Somebody set the alarms, cause they be too busy snoozing. I'm in a DeLorean. Fast forward and never...